Good morning. It's Tuesday, February 18th. Here's what we're working on this morning. Flights have resumed at Toronto's Pearson Airport after yesterday's plane crash, but 2 runways still closed this morning.
Liberal leadership hopeful Mark Carney is set to visit Hamilton today.
And Team Canada advances to the Four Nations Face-Off Championship. Good morning. Thank you for making us part of your morning. Louis Butko, Annette Hom, Brian Wood.
Morning.
All here with you on a frigid is the word I'm going to use today, okay, Brian.
That's
Tuesday morning.
You had quite a long walk to your vehicle today because you're still in a parking situation because of the snow. Everybody is.
Exactly. You know, some routes still not closed or still not cleared. So to be sure, I parked in a garage downtown, which meant about a 10-minute walk or so this morning.
Did you get it down to 5 because you were running?
My pace was a little 1-2, 1-2, 1-2, 1-2.
It would have been, because you know we are twice as cold this morning as we were yesterday morning.
Yeah.
We were -8 yesterday morning. We're -16 right now.
I'm over it.
And then you factor in the winds, which are fairly strong.
And blowing so much snow yesterday, too.
Exactly.
So much drifting.
Yes, blowing and drifting snow yesterday. That was the big problem because you dug everything out and then you'd go back a couple hours later and it was all blown in again. But right now we have a wind chill of -27. That's how cold Louis felt this morning when he was walking to his car earlier. Oh, it's a cold start to our morning here. There's a cold weather alert, not for Hamilton, but for Brantford and Simcoe, Delhi, Norfolk. There's a cold weather alert there. We could get some flurries for the day. A bit of sunshine this morning and then mainly cloudy skies. We're going to climb today to -8 with a wind chill of -15. So well below seasonal. A cold day today. A touch milder for the day tomorrow, but that's about it. So bundle up and stay safe in this cold. We'll look at the forecast. A quick check on traffic this morning. Of course, we're back to normal after our Family Day holiday yesterday when the volume was so light, already starting to build here at the 403 and Waterdown Road. So no problems there. Just a few MTO traffic cameras, Nikola Tesla Boulevard, Toronto-bound lanes heading away from us. We'll check the other side of the Skyway. Yep, same thing here. Looks pretty good. No problems. East of 4th, Burlington, Oakville, Mississauga, all moving nicely so far. So weather and traffic, all the details coming up in a few minutes. Right now, the news.
Thank you, Brian. Flights have resumed at Toronto's Pearson Airport after yesterday's plane crash, but 2 runways are still closed while investigations take place.
Toronto. We just landed. Our plane crashed. It's upside down. Fire department's on site.
There were no deaths among the 80 people on board, but 18 were injured when a Delta Airlines plane from Minneapolis crashed upon landing in Toronto and flipped over onto its roof.
When we hit, it was just a super hard, like hit the ground, and the plane went sideways, and I believe we skidded like on our side and then flipped over on our back. Where we ended up, there was like a big fireball out this left side of the plane. And when we got finished, it was I was upside down. Everybody else was there as well. Thankfully, everybody was okay. But we tried to get
the Greater Toronto Airport Authority's CEO, Deborah Flint, praised the heroic work of emergency crews in helping the 76 passengers and 4 crew members climb out the plane's emergency exits. Simone will be joining us later in the show with more details.
There has been a deadly ATV crash in Norfolk County. It happened around 1 yesterday afternoon. OPP say an ATV and a passenger vehicle crashed on the 2nd concession in Houghton. That area is just south of Tillsonburg, not very far from Long Point. The 49-year-old driver on the ATV was killed. The other driver taken to hospital as a precaution. There's no word on charges.
Liberal leadership hopeful Mark Carney is set to visit an innovation-focused facility and host a meet and greet with local supporters in Hamilton this afternoon. With just 3 weeks left before a new leader is chosen, the field of contenders seems final. 5 candidates, including Carney, Chrystia Freeland, Frank Bayless, Ruby Dalla, and Karina Gould, have all paid their final $125,000 installment of the $350,000 entrance fee. Carney's campaign appears to have a huge financial advantage over the others so far, having raised a whopping $1.9 million through fundraising. A new Liberal leader will be elected on March 9th.
Ontario's political leaders faced off in their second and final debate, seen on CHCH, and much of the focus last night was on Progressive Conservative leader Doug Ford. For an hour and a half, Ford was grilled on housing shortages, doctor shortages, hallway health care, education gaps, traffic congestion, tax cuts, affordability, and credibility. The NDP's Marit Stiles, Liberals' Bonnie Crombie, and Green Party's Mike Schreiner all voiced opposition to building on Ontario Greenbelt lands, and they criticized Ford over his previous plan to do so. Ford's government is under an RCMP criminal investigation for its now reversed decision to open up the Greenbelt to build 50,000 homes. Doug Ford says he flip-flopped on the issue, but has since apologized to the people of Ontario for the alleged scandal. Now, the latest polling from Abacus data shows that Ford's Progressive Conservatives remain the clear favorite of voters, with 41% of committed voters. What was once a very large lead over the Liberals and NDP, though, has tightened to just 13 points, with the PCs down 4 percentage points since February 6th, and the Liberals gaining 4 points. Now, Election Day is a week from Thursday. It's February 27th. To vote, bring your voter card and one piece of ID with your name. If you didn't receive a voter card, bring ID showing both your name and address. For advance polls, visit local election offices by 6 o'clock at night on February 26th, or use advance polls from Thursday to Saturday of this week. If you're voting by mail, you do have to apply online by 6 p.m. on February 23rd, and your ballot must be received by 6 p.m. on the 27th. We'll have lots more on the debate throughout Morning Live. You can also watch analysis from our debate panel on our YouTube page at CHCH News.
Sportsline, let's start on the ice, where Team Canada needed a win in regulation yesterday to book their spot in the Four Nations Face-Off Championship game.
Unable to get the shot away, cut off there, turns back, scores! Connor McDavid! There's a chance coming through again, scores! Nathan McKinnon, the 1-2 punch, scores early for Team Canada.
Connor McDavid and Nathan McKinnon would score less than a minute apart early in the first period, while the Canadians would survive a late comeback attempt from the Finns, as captain Sidney Crosby would end up putting the game away with an empty netter to seal the 5-3 victory for Canada. Braden Point also scored for Canada, who had Colorado defenseman Cal McCarr back in the lineup after missing Saturday's game. Here is Canada head coach John Cooper talking about his captain after the game.
It's like, you know, you want to meet your hero and you want them to be your hero. And to be honestly, like, a lot of times that doesn't happen. And how many times have you said, oh man, I wish, you know, you look at them in a certain light. Well, the light that you look at Sidney Crosby is still the same light when you meet him. You know, in our country, he walks on water, and he is as humble as they come, and you can see why he arguably is one of the most respected people in this game.
Gotta love Sid the Kid. So Canada's win sets up another epic chapter in the Canada-U.S. rivalry. Thursday night's championship game in Boston. Canada looking for revenge after a 3-1 loss earlier in the tournament. Switching gears to the OHL now, where the Brantford Bulldogs were looking to finish off a perfect family day weekend. They were taking on the Sudbury Wolves at home.
Crotch rolls it up ahead, another 2-on-1. Van Acker with Brown. It's a hat trick. Toss him if you got him. What can Brown do for you?
Of course, that's the Sioux Greyhounds, not the Sudbury Wolves. Cole Brown had a hat trick. Nick Lardis scored his Canadian Hockey League leading 57th goal of the season. And Noah Nelson broke a tie in the final minute as the Bulldogs stayed hot with a wild 8-6 win over the Greyhounds. With the win, they're 8th in their last 9 games. Brantford clinches a spot in the postseason for an 8th straight season. Meanwhile, as we've been telling you, the Bulldogs had their special Family Day 50-50 draw, and congratulations to Mike from Brantford, who ended up taking home $43,000, which means the foundation taking home the same amount. In fact, the Hyman Family Ownership Group matching the amount for a total donation of $87,416. Good for them. Good for them. Good for them. Good for everybody. Good for Mike. Yeah. All right. Let's switch gears to baseball now, where all eyes are on Vladdy Guerrero Jr. and the Blue Jays this morning as the club holds their first full spring training team workout in Dunedin. Now, the 25-year-old slugger had placed a self-imposed deadline of spring training to get a new deal in place, saying that he would not discuss an extension during the season. Guerrero Jr., who will become a free agent after this season, is reportedly seeking a deal somewhere in the $400 million range. Now, Dominican Republic-based MLB insider Hector Gomez reporting overnight that talks were, quote, very active and both sides seem to be in a position to reach an agreement. We'll have to wait and see. And Team Canada's Rachel Homan and Corin Brown of BC are the Pool A frontrunners at the 18-team Scotties Tournament of Hearts after Monday's action in Thunder Bay. Homan, the defending Scotties and world champion, is 4-0, while Brown is 4-1. Christina Black of Nova Scotia, Danielle Inglis of Ontario, and Laurie St. George of Quebec are all tied for the Pool B lead with 3-1 records.
All right, 11 after 6 o'clock. You know, there's something, even if you're not a baseball fan, there's something about the sound of spring training that, yes, spring. Okay, all right, because we need to think about that this morning because it is so cold this morning. Our temperature has just fallen a degree. We're now minus 17. We'll talk about the forecast in a second. Looking at the 403 and Waterdown Road, we start with our camera. It's moving nicely, so it's busy coming out of Hamilton, obviously, but that's just normal. Some MTO traffic cameras into St. Catharines, first of all. Garden City Skyway West camera, nothing there. So Nikola Tesla Boulevard still looks good. East of Brant Street towards us, nothing to see there. East of Royal Windsor all the way through Etobicoke Creek. So not a lot happening on the roads this morning. But the temperature, as I said, has just fallen a degree. We are now minus 17. Winds are west-southwest at 23. That makes it feel like minus 27 this morning. It is bitterly cold. If you have to do any walking or standing waiting for a bus this morning, make sure you're bundled up against that. There's not really snowing, but it's blowing snow at the moment because of that wind. So for school today, temperature is going to climb to minus 8, and that's about it. We will get mainly cloudy skies today, and there will be some flurries on and off. There's been some snow squalls coming down off Lake Huron, off Georgian Bay. Highway 6 is closed between Wyerton and Tobermory. Highway 21 closure as well. Snowstorm going up the East Coast. We're just going to be brushed with some snow flurry activity as we get into Thursday, but we're not looking at snow. So minus 8 to minus 7 for Niagara, minus 8, 9, and 10 this end of the lake. Minus 6 for Toronto and Burlington. Tonight, another cold night. Maybe not quite as cold. Minus 10 and 12 for Niagara. Minus 14, 15 degrees. The remainder of the Horseshoe, we're looking at some flurries overnight. Not accumulations, just flurries. Tomorrow, maybe a touch better. Minus 5, 6, and 7 degrees. We'll get some sun tomorrow, but again, there's that chance of some flurry activity. We're looking at probably a mix of sun and clouds for the day tomorrow. So out the door, 18th morning of February. It is cold, and we do have blowing snow. Temperature right now, minus 17. Wind chill, minus 27. Long range coming up. Annette Louie.
Okay, thanks very much, Brian.
All right, coming up after the break, we will say good morning to Emily Vukovic with a preview of what's to come in Chit Chat. And also, politicians from both the provincial and federal levels addressed affordability. We'll have those details coming up in 2 minutes. All right, welcome back. Let's say good morning to Emily Vukovic, who is afraid she's going to get in trouble. What's coming up in Chit Chat there,
Because
Emily?
I kept moving to see you guys to talk.
Stay in your box.
Yeah, what's up? What's up?
And the director was like, stay still.
Classic Brody.
Yeah.
What's coming up?
Okay, Sheryl Crow sells her Tesla in protest of the company's owner, Elon Musk. We will discuss. Julianne Moore, her children's book has been banned. And we'll take a look at Matt Damon and Christopher Nolan's newest film.
Yeah, that's the first look at the Odyssey, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, this is a big one. Everybody's on this one. We'll see you in a bit.
I'll be there.
Okay. All right, checking basis news. The Canadian dollar is unchanged, trading overseas at 70.47 cents U.S. Gold is $23.80 an ounce higher. Crude gained $1.10 to $71.84 a barrel. In midday European trading, markets are down in London, Frankfurt, and Paris.
In Asia, the markets were up today in Tokyo and Hong Kong, down a little bit in Shanghai. North American markets closed yesterday for Family Day and for President's Day. U.S. stock futures higher in pre-market trading despite ongoing concerns over trade and inflation. Major averages remain close to recent highs.
Ontario's main party leaders used last night's debate to try to position themselves as the best person to tackle affordability in the province.
The three of us have all said we would double ODSP rates. People are living in legislated poverty. And I'm wondering if Mr. Ford thinks it's okay in a province as wealthy as Ontario that people would be forced to live in legislated poverty on $1,300 a month when average market rent in this province is $1,600 a month and over $2,000 in Toronto. How can we sleep at night knowing that people with disabilities can't even afford to pay the bills?
Bonnie Crombie, I can see you want to get in. Doug Ford, did you want to respond to that?
Well, I'll respond quickly. Under ODSP, we've actually increased it based on the rate of inflation. It's gone up since 2022, 17%. That's what we've done. But you can't pay people on ODSP if you don't have an economy. And all you three believe in is simple. Just tax the people to death. Right. Tax companies to death. We saw what you did.
Listen, no, it's my opportunity to get in.
7 years ago,
No, I think it's my opportunity.
I walked into a bankrupt province because you lost 300,000 jobs. You tax businesses. You tax people.
The leaders are heading back out on the campaign trail to try and bring that message straight to voters. Progressive Conservative leader Doug Ford is set to stop in Sault Ste. Marie, while NDP leader Marit Stiles is in Toronto, and Liberal leader Bonnie Crombie is starting her day with an announcement here in Hamilton.
Now, if Chrystia Freeland wins the federal Liberal leadership, she has promised to tie the number of new immigrants to housing availability. The former finance minister outlined her plan to fix Canada's housing shortage in a document this morning. It says the move would slow down population growth until the housing affordability crisis stabilizes. Rival candidate Mark Carney promised last week to incentivize building more prefabricated homes, but didn't give any more details.
The annual pace of housing starts in January rose 3% to nearly 240,000 units compared with December. Canada Mortgage and Housing Corporation says the increase was helped by strength in multi-unit starts in Quebec and British Columbia. The annual pace of multi-unit urban starts rose 8%, while the pace of rural starts was estimated at more than 19,000 units. While housing start data shows early signs of progress to begin the year, the agency says foreign trade risks and significant uncertainty for housing construction going forward.
And Canada's inflation rate is expected to have ticked back up. Economists polled by Reuters expect last month's consumer price index will come in, and it's expected a little bit later this morning. They expect it to come in at 1.9%. StatsCan had reported Canada's inflation rate in December had fallen to 1.8%. That was thanks in large part to the federal government's temporary GST break. The agency noted that without that tax break, the annual inflation rate for December would have been up to 2.3%.
All right, off and running on this Tuesday morning. Taking a quick break right now. Brian will be back with your traffic and your 7-day forecast.
Good Good morning. Just about 6:24 on this Tuesday morning, the 18th of February. Looking at our MTO traffic cameras and really nothing to see here. Actually, the roads are pretty dry. This is the Garden City Skyway East right there. Looks good. South of 2, so this is the North Shore Boulevard camera coming off the Skyway Bridge. A little slicker road condition here and busier traffic as well. East of 4th, we'll flip ahead to Sheraton going through Mississauga. Nothing there. How about dipping into the 403 at Mavis? That looks pretty good at the moment. So not a lot happening on the roads this morning, but the temperature, it continues to fall. Minus 17, that's what you want to do this morning. You ever get that cold spot right on your back and you just stand with your back against the fire and you go, oh, that feels so good. That's what I want to do this morning. So minus 17 Hamilton, wind chill minus 27 is how cold it is. Minus 14 Mississauga, minus 13 Grimsby, minus 12 for Toronto. Seasonals this time of year, minus 1 for the daytime high, minus 9 for the overnight low. We are so far below those sun times and records for today. And back to school today. Minus 11 for the first bell. We should have some sunshine. And then minus 10 with some flurries for after school. So the forecast today, minus 8, wind chill minus 15. Cold day today. Minus 15 tonight. Wind chill about minus 23. So it's going to be cold again. And then tomorrow we climb a little bit. Minus 6. Wind chill minus 10, minus 7 on Thursday, stays cold. Then it moderates. Look at this, minus 3, minus 2 Friday into Saturday, minus 2 on Sunday. That's a plus side temperature by the time we get to Monday. That's your forecast. Annette, Louis.
All right, thank you, Brian. A small but brave group of people in Burlington took the plunge to support Special Olympics athletes.
Most of our athletes live on Ontario disability, which is not a lot of money, as we all know. And so this fundraising allows us to send them to competitions where they don't have to pay for it.
Now, last year, Special Olympics Ontario launched its first karate team in Burlington. 6 athletes represented Canada at the World Karate Championship in Portugal. They brought home 3 gold medals, a silver, a bronze, and a 4th place finish. All of the money raised from this polar bear dip will support programming and events for 23,000 athletes from across the province. They raised nearly $7,500 towards their $10,000 goal as of this morning. And give them more for even considering going out in that water. That was yesterday when it was cold enough.
Cold just watching it. I want to go back to the TV with Brian and the
Brian
fire over there. Yeah.
Do you have any marshmallows? Yeah, we'll roast marshmallows by the fire.
Have you ever done a polar bear plunge?
No. But I did the other night. I did go from the hot tub into a snowbank. I did.
Oh, did you?
Yes.
Okay. So
and quickly got back up.
Not quite, because you got to go right back into the hot tub.
Yes.
Yeah. All right. Stay with us. We have more to come after the break.
Oh, very nice.
Well done. Well done.